Now, one of the biggest mysteries in TV history has got to be when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air switched one of their main characters, Aunt Viv, from this actress named Janet to this actress right over here named Daphne. Janet was iconic, but the reason they switched her over to Daphne was because Janet had a problem, and her problem's name was William Smith, the star of the show. You see, even though Will and Aunt Viv got along on the show, off the show, it was a whole different ballgame. They was not friends. You see, Will was a 21-year-old star. In his words, he acted like it. Aunt Viv was a seasoned actress, and she did not take no BS. She was like her character in that regard. So these two personality types did not mix. She would tell him, look, get out your trailer. It's time to work. William would be like, excuse me, do you know who I am? And they was not cool. So here's where things start to get wicked. It's time to renew contracts. So she goes over to NBC. She said, look, I want to get paid more. People really like Aunt Viv. My character, iconic. They said, that is true. She said, so the first part, I said, I want to get paid more. They said, how about a counter offer? We pay you less and we give you less episodes on the show. She said, or how about I leave? They said, what? So they did some negotiations, NBC and Aunt Viv, and they came up with a number that fit both of them. But one day she spins the block. She comes back and NBC said, okay, so the first offer we said, we're going to pay you less and we're going to give you less episodes. That's on the table. So that's what we're going to do. She said, no, hold on. We had a conversation. Like the YouTuber just said, we came up with a number that fit both of us. They said, we changed our minds. So Aunt Viv took off. She skedaddled. She said, good luck finding an Aunt Viv that's as good as me. They said, yeah, I bet we can. Spoiler alert, they did not. Now here's where things start to get wickeder. She gets on an interview and she said, look, we couldn't come to negotiations, me and NBC. So, I had to dip. William Smith, for some reason, decides to do an interview of his own. He said, look, before Aunt Viv come out here and start talking about me, I'm gonna start talking about her first. Aunt Viv left the show after she got an offer that I thought was fair. Now she's going from a lot of money to nothing. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna say it. Me and Aunt Viv was arguing behind the scenes. Will's manager was probably sitting in the background going, why would he say that? Will said, yeah, and another thing, she was just hard for me to work with. Damn, the worst thing he could say about Aunt Viv, calling a black woman in Hollywood, a dark-skinned black woman at that, difficult to work with, her career took a nosedive. Aunt Viv sees this interview. She said, okay, bet, spin back the interview. The interview cameras rush over. She said, okay, I forgot to add this part of my first interview. Since Will want to talk, I'm gonna talk too. I wanted to keep it PG and just talk about NBC, but I believe that it's Will Smith's fault that I got fired because I had an offer, right? We had a pretty good offer. Then all of a sudden they want to give me some terrible offer. Me and Will Smith not getting along, he the star. Do the math in your head. And the two stopped speaking for 27 years until a few years back, Will and Janet Hubert, Aunt Viv, reunited and hashed it out like a couple of grown-ups. Will sincerely apologized to her saying, look, he was 21. He was acting an ass. She said, I blame you. No, I'm getting carried away. She didn't exactly say that. She said, look, you honestly ruined my career with the words that you was spouting out, the nonsense. He said, I don't think he was expecting that after he just apologized. So he said, girl, I know, my bad. He said, I didn't know my words would affect you like that, honestly. She told him, you know what? I accept your apology. She comes out and says she was in an abusive relationship, so she was going through a lot in life. So she apologizes to Will for how she may have acted on set as well. And the two hug it out and they still remain friends to this day.